of sports books comes the king of sports podcasts. Unleashed. Presented by BetMGM. Here's your hosts, Jerry Ferrara and Olivia Harlan Dekker.
Welcome to, how do I say this? An interesting episode of Unleashed, a sad episode of Unleashed, and very, more than anything, improbable episode of Unleashed. And our loyal listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. They know that I lost a bet that had a lot of sentiment involved and a lot of embarrassment at stake. Oh my God, Jerry. And here we are. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, just to reflect for a minute, I did not want to make this bet with you, Olivia Harlan Dekker. I did not want to do it. For number one, I didn't want to wear cheese on my head. I just didn't. And number two, I really thought we were most likely going to lose. But now you, on the other hand, and if you're just catching up with us this week and didn't hear last week, Olivia, diehard Packers fan, made a bet. And you actually even threw me the points out of pity. I asked for the point spread and you said, yeah, all right, whatever. Out of pity. That was my only hope. And we went down big. But yeah, you have to wear cheese on your head this episode. And you have really nice hair. So I'm just worried. And I feel bad for your husband, Sam. Like, you smell like cheese tonight.
Well, a couple things. You're nice to say that because my postpartum hair loss would beg to differ. I also did not do my hair tonight, so I'm very much anticipating my post-show shower. And also, Sam is out of town playing a game, so no one else is going to even be close to this head of hair of mine. My baby will be asleep, so this is just for you, Jerry.
You go one wash or two washes? You go two washes, maybe? Or a wash in the condition? You maybe do a wash in the little conditioner treatment?
Now, to be fair, I get that the whole cheesehead thing is an easy thing to make fun of. I get it. I think Packer fans are self-aware that it's kind of a stupid thing. Believe me, I heard a lot of that overseas for the Packers-Giants game, obviously in London. I live in London. I went there. And there were some, I think, did I tag you in one of them or you sent it to me, of Giants fans cheering about the cheese after?
Yes, they with some curse words about the cheese.
Let's roll that clip in here.
Yeah.
Let's roll that clip in here. Because I want everyone to know who Giants fans really are. That was mean. That was nasty too. Golly. The whole thing though, Jerry, and I'm eating my words, I thought there was no chance in hell this would happen. I really didn't. That's why I was giving you such a hard time last week.
And to be quite honest, it really shouldn't have. I'm as shocked as anyone, only because the Giants are obviously decimated with injuries. There was Marcus Johnson, I think his name is. I didn't even know who that dude was. Like, I was Googling him during the game.
Oh, who scored?
Yeah, I just, there were players I had to do quick Google checks on.
I know.
But I do kind of, you guys are all to blame, because here's my issue that I'm having with the Packers. Obviously, I love Aaron Rodgers. He's an amazing quarterback. Well, you have two really, really good running backs. And I know the Giants defense was stout and we were keying in a little bit, but still, to go away from them on those third and fourth down plays, to not even really get the ball in their hands for even the third. And I get Aaron Rodgers is your best player. You got to put the ball in his hands, but still, your two running backs are dynamic. I thought we would have saw, I was most afraid of A.J. Dillon and of Aaron Jones. I'm not afraid of any of your receivers. I'm sorry. In the past, obviously Davante Adams scared the life out of me. There is not one receiver on the Packers that I was fearful of. And we lost our number one quarterback, Adoree Jackson, too, went out in the first quarter. And I still wasn't afraid of any of your receivers. You need a redo, because Davante Adams had some issues the other night. He doesn't look too happy. Get him back. You need him back. Honestly, he should be in Green Bay still.
I just love how much show you're eating up without making me put this cheese in my head. Let's keep talking. Let's go.
Now, I did spare you. We talked off air. I'm not going to do no fondue or anything. And I'm not let's just keep it simple. I'm a cheddar guy. It smells, but it's not god awful. So what do you have in your possession?
So you texted me I could just get away with some, either slices or sprinkles of just cheddar.
Yeah.
You're going very easy on me, so I appreciate that. So in my fridge, I looked, and Sam may be wondering what happened to our cheese. This is British cheddar, perfect for cooking, and it expires today.
Oh.
So I'm not wasting it.
Oh, God. Are you going to keep this on for the whole show?
Not for the interview.
Right. I asked for that because I thought we were interviewing Kevin Garnett
off.
today. We're actually interviewing Kevin Garnett, I believe, next week, which is awesome. But today we have Zach Harper because we're going to get to talk some NBA action, which I can't believe that's finally here. I can't believe it.
Oh, I know. We can't wait. There's so much to get to. Okay.
All right. All right. She reaches in the bag, folks. She pulls out.
What's most disturbing is I have a babysitter right now watching the baby, and I really hope she doesn't come out and sees what my work really is.
Oh my! Oh, that's a good. Oh my gosh! I feel bad. I feel bad.
I know. Okay, so there's your cheese head.
All right. Well, look, you cannot say Olivia Harlan Dekker does not pay her debts. She pays her debts. She's currently, well, I'm sure we'll have these. These will be breakout clips, so we'll have this on.
It's like still falling.
Blame the play calling. Should have got the ball to AJ and Aaron a little more.
Oh, it smells bad. Oh, it does smell bad.
We got to be a little careful with these bets going forward, because. But you know what? We'll end it with this. We'll move on from the bet after this. You took a I reverse jinxed you, a la Peter Andrew, married Peter Andrew, but you were a heavy favorite going in, and you were pushing the envelope on what this bet was. So let this be a lesson in our next future bets. Maybe we just go a little easier on each other.
But it can't be money. We like to make it a little bit different. Yeah. And honestly, unless our two teams meet again, this is it. So all right. I'm okay with this.
Till next year.
We're going to meet in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So this is it.
Till next year.
I don't care. Right. But overall, listen, great game. So much fun. The stadium at Tottenham Hotspur was amazing. And the fans, Jerry, were like 70% Packer fans. I'm not kidding.
That's the other thing. You had home field advantage. I did see a picture or video Sam posted on his Instagram, and I was like, wow, that it just looked. I used like some kind of old classy bar. It just looked really cool. And I said, man, I wish I was there. That looks awesome.
Oh, it was so much fun. We ran into so many random people we knew. It really felt like we were at Lambeau Field. It felt better than if we were at Lambeau Field. Because so many people were, new Packer fans, like if they were either Brits or Europeans in general coming over for the game. And there were a couple things, and Packer fans will know this, that at a home game, our PA announcer will say, that's a Packers first down. And the music plays, da, 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 go, Pack, go. And I think you do it 3 times and then you're done because you're on offense. You want to be quiet. And the either new NFL fans or new Packer fans did not realize you want to be quiet when your team's on offense. And they just kept going, go, Pat, go. And we're like, no, everyone be quiet. But man, it didn't seem to matter. We just gave it away. We were feeling confident at halftime, obviously. And one of the bets I liked going into this game was A.J. Dillon over 12.5 rushing attempts, and he only had 6.
That's the problem.
That was horrible. Everyone in the stands kept saying, run the damn ball. It was so maddening. And then the tip passes to end the game. I mean, your defense was great. You guys throttled us. Defense
was great, but so after 5 weeks now, I have not been very impressed with the Packers at all. And it's just, to me, it is squarely on the defense hasn't been great either. Let's be honest. You let the Giants have 20 unanswered points. Like, that's not good. The Giants shouldn't score that much. But yeah, I repeat, there's no one on that offense who scares me other than like your running backs. Your running backs do, but
I know.
Call Odell. Call Odell. You should be calling Carolina. Seriously. I also put on Twitter, I was begging the Giants to call the Panthers because they're in full blow it up mode, it seems like. DJ Moore, I don't even know if you could get him. I don't know what the trade would be. I don't even think the Giants have any cap room to make it work. But if you're the Packers, maybe you should be calling Carolina and say, hey, what do you like for DJ Moore? Or even Robbie Anderson at this point. Yeah. That's how down I am on this receiving core, the Packers. Or Robbie Anderson. Call the Panthers. The Giants, Packers absolutely should be calling the Panthers today.
I know. And again, we've talked about the OBJ situation on this show. He's not healthy really till November. He's smart. He's taking his sweet time. He's like, the hot new girl to move to the high school and just going to let all the suitors come to him and figure this out. I would love to think he'd see the chance to do 1 year with a Hall of Fame quarterback. But if I'm OBJ, I'm kind of wondering, I don't want to, go somewhere to not advance far in the playoffs. I want a multi-year deal. He's going to want stability after the last year.
I think he deserves it because,
Sure.
and I've always been a fan of his since he was on the Giants. I still wish he was on the Giants. I still think the Giants should call him as well, although I don't see how you go back. I don't think it works. But
Right.
we know the Rams have problems, Cooper Kupp not being one of them. OBJ got open a lot for the Rams. Allen Robinson, who I did a whole spiel on Allen Robinson before the season started. I was so happy for him to finally have a legit quarterback. He put up numbers in Chicago with no quarterback whatsoever. And then he goes to the Rams, and I'm thinking, okay, he's got Stafford now. So I don't know if they have zero chemistry or if Allen Robinson can't get separation or what. He gets no looks. So to me, if you're looking at it, OBJ was getting looks and was a big part of that offense. Allen Robinson is not. So I think that makes OBJ's stock go up. Now I know he's coming off a massive injury, but you're right. He should absolutely sit back. Teams like the Giants who are decimated, the Packers who need help, or some teams who are going to look to maybe just get that one last piece, like the Bills, and go for it. So this is really getting interesting.
If I'm OBJ looking at the Rams still, look at their last game. Stafford threw for over 300 and had 4 interceptions. They're playing with, everyone keeps saying, a patchwork offensive line, which, almost every offensive line in the NFL at some point of the season is patchwork. Guys just move all around. Certainly Green Bay's is, getting back to that. But yeah, Rams offense looks pretty pedestrian.
And you spoke about London fans cheering at the wrong time. In LA, Stafford having to quiet his own crowd, or at least he thought it was his own crowd, because there was a majority Cowboy fans there. And I talked about this on Twitter with one of my buddies who's a Bears fan. The fact that, and this is no disrespect to Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields is good. I think he's going to be good. I believe in Justin Fields. The Giants traded out of that pick. The Bears got that pick, draft Fields, and now Micah Parsons is having a year that very few defensive players have. And the fact that the Giants passed on him, the Bears passed on him, but the Bears didn't need a quarterback, and he falls right to the Cowboys, that just hurts. Because, man, I would love to have Micah Parsons on the Giants right now.
I know. Everyone's looking at Micah Parsons. Dan Quinn's defense is looking really legit. I think Dan Quinn's probably first up for the next head coaching hire, which you're kind of looking at Matt Rule in Carolina. I think he's got the hottest seat right now in the NFL. But on the Cowboys, let's just finish off on that. When you look at Cooper Rush, he had just 10 completions. I know people are really hot right now. He's undefeated, blah, blah, blah. His game wasn't fantastic. He had just 10 completions, like I said, but he's winning. Now, obviously, Zeke and Tony Pollard are doing the heavy lifting and looking incredible. In fact, I think Tony Pollard needs the ball more. But together they were great. And Dak may come back this week against Philly. How
do you feel about that? So as a Giants fan and as an avid NFC East watcher and being pleasantly surprised by the NFC East this year, look, Cowboys have gotten off to great starts in the past. This is in the last 10 years. But by far, and I'm being honest with you, Cowboy fans, and I know there's a billion of you out there, this is the most scared of a Cowboys team that I have ever been. Because I look around that roster, they have 2 really good running backs. They have 1 really great receiver and a bunch of good role-playing receivers. The offensive line could get even healthier. And the defense, this is the best Cowboys defense since the 90s. Since they had Charles Haley and Leon this is the best Cowboys defense since the 90s. I'm sorry. It just is. So I'm really afraid.
A good argument.
What's that?
Yeah. You lay out a good argument. I guess I just feel like the Cowboys of years past have been more star-studded, but
doesn't matter. And we're seeing that by teams like the Giants, and you know what, the Eagles, who are obviously the leaders right now.
The Eagles,
right? But could you name 7 Eagles off the top of your head? You probably could, but you'd have to think when you get down to 4, 5, or 6. They're not loaded with stars. They're just a really good deep team.
Jerry, I don't really want to talk about the top of my head right now. Considering
Besides
pile
the
of stinky
cheddar,
cheese on it.
the British cheddar that's on the top of your head. Last thing about the Cowboys, because I want to ask you this.
Okay.
It's Dak's job, right? I mean, that's what every talking head show is going to talk.
Dak's
Of course
job.
it is.
I know.
And I agree. And I thought about this a lot while doing a workout this morning. Cooper Rush is doing amazing things. He's managing the game perfectly. CeeDee Lamb is very effective with Cooper Rush in the lineup. But I just think Dak has a much higher ceiling, maybe a lower floor. Maybe when he goes bad and the offense is run differently, and if he throws some picks, because Cooper does not throw picks, maybe a lower floor. But I think to advance and win 3 or 4 games in the playoffs to win a Super Bowl, I think you need the ceiling of Dak, and I think he's earned that. So let's quiet all the chatter about maybe the Cowboys are better off. What time will tell. But and beating the Eagles would go a long way for either of these two quarterbacks. But yeah, we got some good matchups this week.
I got to say with Cooper, it's really fun to watch this because, of course, when Dak comes back, which should be this week, he's earning himself years in this league. You know what I mean? People will go back to this season and look at what he did, and whether he's a backup for the rest of his career or not, I see him really doing some good things for his career. So it's always great to see that. Someone else who is earning themselves years in this league is Geno Smith and your Seattle Seahawks. He's been so great. Last week, 3 touchdowns, no interception. Kenneth Walker Jr. obviously was great. Rashad Penny got hurt, so that's a question mark. Their defense is terrible.
Yes.
In Seattle, but they've got this like top 10 offense in the NFL, and they lost, of course, but they look legit on offense.
So obviously, my long shot lottery ticket of the Seahawks winning the division is not going to hold up. Although, gosh, if they just had a little bit of defense, and if they could have held on to that game, or, you know, they had one more win. If you're really looking at the Rams saying, okay, and look, the Niners are scary on defense. They just lost a defensive player today. I would still at least be in the hunt. I still am in the hunt, but barely. But the bigger story is they got the Russell Wilson trade right. They
did.
Got a lot of value for him. They didn't have to pay him all that money. And maybe it's too soon to say, oh, Russell Wilson's finished. I think it is a little too soon, because who knows if he's hurt, new offense, maybe the coach is part of the issue, who knows. Either way, do you want that for the next 5 years? No. You now have draft capital. You have Geno for the time being. Things are looking bright in Seattle. Again, with these older coaches, this is why I'm so upset with like Tomlin. He's not an old coach, but he's been around. I don't want to watch Tomlin rebuild. I don't know if I want to watch Pete Carroll rebuild, but it certainly seems like they're a few steps ahead of where we all thought they would be going into the year.
Yeah, the Russell Wilson thing is cringy, but it's like when a couple gets a divorce and one of them just is really kicking ass and one of them's not. You know, one of them's going on dates and
super fit,
bought a new house.
The other's eating Doritos on the couch, or Subway sandwiches. Weird commercial Subway sandwiches on the couch.
And then how about the let's ride as he's leaving the press conference?
Thank you guys. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Is that not so weird?
You need to go ride yourself to a quarterback camp and talk to Trent Dilfer or something or whatever, because no one's riding. If you're a ride,
no one's riding with you.
No one's riding right now. So you need to, no one's riding right now, unless the people who are betting against you are maybe riding with you.
So something else about Russ that kind of just has always weirded me out for years now. I've kind of kept tabs on this. I feel like every video I see of him, he has a different accent. I'm not kidding. Some of his Instagram stories, he has a completely different voice than later, and I've heard like 12 different variations of his voice, which just kind of adds to the who are you, dude? Like, and I don't know if you watched this too on Good Morning Football. They did a whole rant on it, and it was a great piece, and they just were giving more firsthand stories of dealing with Russell, like behind the scenes, and just saying kind of unflattering things. And so a lot's coming to light. Look, I wish no one ill in this business. I don't. I would love everyone to do well, stay healthy, and provide for their family. But
who would you rather have, Russell Wilson or Geno Smith? And you have to answer right now. I'll let you take one piece of cheese off your head if you answer in less than 5 seconds.
Geno.
Okay. I believe you. You can take a little cheese off.
A couple fell off.
I think I would too. Man, I don't know. I don't really mean
Well,
that.
just
It's
'cause
so
he's hot right
we're
now, just 'cause he's
overreacting, obviously, but
of course. And we're kind of joking too.
it feels like an NBA trade to me, that trade. There's so many teams. Like if you look at the Pelicans, and we're going to talk about all this with Zach Harper. Obviously, you love Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis won a bubble championship with the Lakers, but the last few years he's been injured. We haven't seen him. And now the Pelicans, who have a good roster now, have 1 million of the Lakers picks. It's like, that's a great place to be in. And the Seahawks could be left with very valuable draft capital if the Broncos don't pull this together. Now they're still, what are they, 3-2? So we're 2-3. But yeah, this is crazy. Crazy.
Speaking of this, there's a team that is 1-4 that may be the best 1-4 team in the NFL. And I have said that I think this team is making the playoffs. I'm going against that now, obviously, but it leads me to my Unleash.
It's time to unleash.
So the Davante Adams shoving a photographer thing. Well, let me just say, when I first saw the video, I was shocked. It's so not Davante. He's always been such a class act, calm, cool, collected. And as someone who works on the sidelines of games, and I work with so many amazing people over the years, camera guys, security guys, graphics people, there's a lot of people who earn their paycheck on a football field, not just the players and coaches, okay? So I felt pretty angry the first time I saw it. I'm like, that guy, just like that's Davante's dream job, that's that guy's dream job, to be an NFL photographer. It made me so angry that these people sacrifice and are working long hours and for a lot less money. And, the guy too, he was just walking across the tunnel. I could understand if it was almost paparazzi-like of like shoving a camera in his face, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think he saw Davante coming as I've rewatched the tape. So I just thought that was so unfair and really sad to see. Davante quickly apologized, both to the man on Twitter and then to the press afterwards in the locker room. And I still think he's a class act. This was so out of character. And I get it. He was so embarrassed by the way that game ended, a 1-point loss Monday Night Football in Kansas City. Him and Hunter Renfrow run into each other on their final play to win it. And it was horrible, but Adams had 2 touchdowns, 124 yards. He had a great game, and only on 3 catches, too, which is wild. How did he only have 3 catches and 2 touchdowns and 124 yards? I don't know. But anyways, the Raiders now 1-4, and Adams is kind of sitting there probably wondering what his decision was all about. I would assume. We've talked about it a lot on the show. But a part of my Unleashed is this. After saying all that, I think it's funny that after 3 hours of asking these guys on the field, these players, to be gladiators, right? To just run down each other's throats, to be so aggressive and violent that now we are clutching our pearls at this little shove. Like as he's walking off the field, and I know this might kind of sound hypocritical, but I think the shove was totally inappropriate. And again, I felt really bad for the guy. But I imagine after giving a game your all and being frustrated with the season, and all you hear when you go home is he should have stayed in Green Bay, blah, 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 having all this energy, all this aggression for that long, I think it's very hard to simply walk off a field or talk with a reporter, right? Don't you always feel awkward when a player's really heated and has a camera and microphone shoved in their face to talk after? Like think of Richard Sherman and Aaron Andrews, that famous post-game interview. And obviously Richard wasn't violent or anything, but I'm just saying there's so much going on that right after you're kind of not your normal self. You're not how you'd be walking down the street. You know what I mean? So I always think about that. It's like we ask them to do so much physically and to just be these animals, these gladiators on the field. And then we want them to be perfect gentlemen seconds after. And I think that's a little unfair of us, let's give these guys a little second to cool off because it's a whole different mode they're in when they're on the pitch, as we say here in London. What do you think, Jared?
I think that's a great point. Look, I think if Davante Adams would like to have that one back, of course. And I'm with you. Like he's, he seems like an awesome guy besides just being an awesome player. What I'm liking so far is it seems like everyone's accepting an apology for the mistake. Finally, like someone made a mistake. Fortunately, it does not seem like the guy was hurt. Let's keep clarity. That's the most important thing. The guy didn't get hurt. thankfully, or else this would have been a much bigger deal. The guy made a mistake. Davante Adams made a mistake. He said, I'm sorry. Let's forgive him. If got to get fined for sure. If I were Davante, I'd definitely reach out to the guy and be like, again, I'm sure he has. I'm sorry. Anything I could ever do. Let's move on. I don't think it was. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt. Let's focus on that and let's move on. I'm sure Davante Adams feels like shit about it and would like to move 100%. On. So I think we can move on. Let's forgive someone who made a mistake.
Yes.
And move forward.
Yes.
So great unleash though.
Thank you.
Do you want mine?
I do.
Okay. Listen, obviously I'm a New York guy. I am not getting too far ahead of myself with the New York Football Giants. 4-1. Love my coach. We talked already about that. I'm over the moon. And I'm actually trying to be quiet about it. Like, great, awesome. I'm not taking any victory laps because it's only 5 games in. Now we're going to circle over to my Jets fan friends, however we say that properly, my Jets fans friends, who historically have always taken victory laps after week 1, after week 2, or beaten the Patriots once or whatever, and haven't been good in a really long time. I'm not a Jets hater. I do laugh at their pain, as many people laugh at my Knicks pain. I do laugh at the Jets pain. Jets fans, you should absolutely be excited. But I was in a Twitter conversation, which probably was my first mistake, with a good buddy of mine, Sean from the Knicks Wall, great Knicks fan. And my guy was talking about, I can't believe the Jets are going to have a defensive rookie of the year and an offensive rookie of the year. This is crazy. Look. Pump the brakes, okay? Yeah. Maybe Sauce Gardner could, and we debated Sauce Gardner as being a lockdown corner, and he certainly seems like he is. And maybe he will win defensive rookie of the year. Number one, who cares really about those awards? Those are great for the player individually. You want this team to develop. You want the young talent you have to develop. You have great young talent. Take that victory lap. Who cares about the awards? Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. You've done that historically, and that historically does not work. So enjoy the wins that you've had. Enjoy this young talent. Don't talk about defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Just, you got a game this week against your Green Bay Packers, Olivia. Could New York snake bite you twice? I don't know. I like that it's in Lambeau, but these Jets are a problem. They really are. They are not. That's why, and I actually like the Jets this week. I like the Packers to win, but I think it's another tight one.
Well, what I was just thinking, if you're bragging, we might have defensive rookie of the year and offensive rookie of the year. Well, I sure would hope so if you had two top 10 picks.
Two top 10 picks.
I would hope that.
Right, exactly. And
what is it, number 4 and number 10?
Yes.
I forget, but you would think, especially getting one on each side of the ball, that'd be an option.
Yeah, I even made
but no, hey, props to Robert Saleh.
Yes.
These Jets are kind of fun to watch, and I'm happy for Robert Saleh. I've worked with him a little bit when he was the 49ers DC, and it's great seeing good things happen to good people. And I'm sure as a New York guy and as a Giants fan, you're just like, you're kind of like, oh, come on, we're having a moment, not you.
Listen, take all the head. See, this was what I did with you last week. I downplayed the Giants in London. I'm going to downplay this Giants-Jets thing. Jets, you take all the headlines. Take all of them. Take every single one. We will quietly go about our business while Coach Brian Dable wears Jordan Cement 3s, and we will just go to work. So cool. And that's it.
He's cool.
We're on to the Ravens.
Are we getting him on the show?
I'm trying. I actually reached out to him, and my friends at the Giants said, I don't think it's going to happen in season, which I love that answer. Okay. Good for, yes.
Yeah, I respect that.
Because he's not taking a victory lap.
And why would he be talking to us when he should be prepping for his game? I wouldn't talk to us.
It was almost like a
sprinkled British cheddar on my head. We're not serious.
You know what? I'm in such a good mood talking about the New York football teams. Like, we got Yankees playoff games in the city I'm living in Cleveland. Take the cheese off your head. Take it off.
Take
the cheese off.
Thank you. Let's get ready for our interview with Zach Harper.
Perfect.
The NBA season tips off on Tuesday, and we're about to run our own fast break to get you ready. And leading the point is our guest staff writer for The Athletic, Zach Harper, is here. Zach, thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm ready to get back into the whole thing. What's weird is I've been on vacation, not going anywhere, not doing anything fun. I've just been off last couple of weeks, so I've been like cramming to get back, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Draymond got in a fight, and let's see what else is going on.
not much.
Yeah,
I mean, look, from trade demands to interoffice affairs,
Right.
It's really been one of the wildest, most interesting off seasons. So as you're catching up, what's the one story you can't believe happened?
I think surprisingly it's that Draymond punched a teammate, and it's the teammate that he punched, right? It's not like if it was a like grizzly veteran or a big tough guy or something like that, I'd be like, all right, whatever, this stuff happens, and it does happen. But Jordan Poole's like the little brother who I think is like a cat owner. It's just not the guy you would punch, right? Like it's just not like it's not that big tough guy. Like, yeah, he talks, but I think that and everything that kind of mushrooms off of that in terms of where we're going to see the chemistry of the Warriors, which has always been something they can rely on, of like, we know what we are, we know who we are. And now as defending champs and even a bigger target on their back and everything, like that's pretty big. But as I say this, I mean, the Ime Udoka stuff is actually really crazy. Like, I don't know why I said Draymond Green, because that is between their injuries and their just disruption. And now they just have a whole new coach they weren't expecting to have. I should have suspected something when their own team governor came out and said, like a week prior, like, I think we're overrated. I think people are overrating us. I'm like, you just went to the finals. How are you overrated? But those are the two big ones, I guess.
Now, look, everyone's obviously up in arms about the Draymond stuff. I had several conversations with friends who, one of my buddies called me and was like, you know what? You know when you look at someone and you're like, they know what they're doing? Like, Draymond knows how to fight based off that punch.
Yeah.
There's zero doubt about it. Look, now I feel like everyone's shipping Draymond Green off. Like, oh, the Warriors can't stay together like this, and that's going to be such a... Like, to me, look, I've never been hit like that. I don't want to be hit like that. I've certainly argued with teammates, and I've never played in the NBA. If any team could come back from that chemistry-wise, it's the Warriors, right? Like...
I think so. Like that, and it's not like it's a new guy who did it, right? Like they know Draymond, but Draymond did he overstepped the boundaries. Like,
yes,
he crossed the line there, and you're right. Like that was a bar punch. Like that is like that was I have been hit like that. It sucks. But it was by a stranger. I didn't have to like be friends with this person anymore. Like it was by a stranger, and so
I feel like that's a whole story.
There are plenty of those. There were plenty of those. But yeah, like that's something where I think the crazy thing about that and something that happened throughout the week of the story is most of the people on the court didn't see the punch until the video got leaked. Like Steph Curry didn't see the punch happen. All he did was turn around and there's a scuffle, right? Like Andre Iguodala didn't see the punch happen. So there is, okay, we had a practice fight, whatever, it happens. Jordan's on the floor. He was shooting around and smiling after the practice when the media got let in. So it's not like he got sent to the hospital or anything. But once you see the way it happened and that there's just this immediate escalation, yeah, like we misuse, well, not we necessarily, but like athletes often misuse, like, I'm so humbled by this experience, right? LeBron James saying, oh, I'm going to pass Kareem's scoring record. I'm humbled by that. It's like, that's not what that means. Like, you're not humbled by the idea that you're going to be the all-time leading scorer. Draymond Green is legitimately humbled by this, and it takes a lot to humble that guy. And so I do think like he has a ton of work to do to get back on the trust side for his entire team, for Jordan Poole, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that it's going to happen. I would guess that it is, but if it, 2 months into the season, hey, this isn't going to be repaired, and maybe we do need to ship him somewhere because he's got a contract coming up and everything, I could see it. I'm with you. Like, I think they're going to be okay.
It seemed like, when you hear something happen and you're kind of like, oh, yeah, but when you see it or when you hear a recording of something, it all of a sudden is so much worse. In sports, we can think of so many things that happen off the field, domestic violence type thing. When the video comes out, when the audio recording comes out, you're like, damn, that sits different. Yeah. This kind of felt like that because, and of course there was no audio to it. Have you heard anything about what might have been said?
I have. I've read a lot of stuff of like what could have been said. I don't know how much of it is real
true.
And how much of it is like people trying to be the Onion. Like, I don't know what it is. Like there's just, it's like that Kawhi Leonard story of he went to a restaurant and he had a bag of apples and they asked him what he wanted, and he's like, apple time. It's not a real story, but enough people believed it because Kawhi is like kind of a different dude, right? And so now with the Draymond stuff and Jordan Poole, Jordan talks a lot. Draymond is Draymond. Like there's so many iterations of what you could say, hey, I heard this happened, and I'd probably believe it. I don't know what to believe though. What I heard before I saw the punch though, and you're right, what I heard was like Draymond punched him aggressively. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I saw the video. I was like, that's underselling it. That was not aggressively.
Totally
that was just a straight up bar fight. Except one guy didn't seem to know he was fighting. And so, like seeing that, and I think that's the thing for the team is once they all saw it. I mean, Steph rarely comes out and talks against a teammate, but Steph, made some pretty strong comments for him based on the situation while still trying to delicately balance that leadership role. And, Draymond, it's not like he was just some guy on the team. Like he's one of their big leaders, and that's going to be a real thing that they have to fix.
It did lead to one of my favorite Twitter exchanges of 2022. Chris Childs, who is not verified on Twitter, so I hope it's the real Chris Childs.
I believe it's him. I think it's him. I think we can't confirm it, but like it's as close to a confirmation as possible.
Yeah, I was like reading. I'm like, is this like a fake Chris Childs account? And basically the Chris Childs account, who we believe is Chris Childs, is saying, man, if there is cameras in the 90s for those 90s Knicks teams and early 2000s Knicks teams, that was like a regular thing. Also, it looked like that camera was from the 90s. All the Simply Safe ads that every podcast has, and that might be on purpose that those security cameras are such shit quality.
Yeah, I think, you could put filters on anything right now. Like I could look like a dog out of nowhere if you guys wanted to. Like it's just like, there's a lot you can do there. Yeah, it definitely looked like the early versions of a Ring camera, right? Like the quality of it, and like not the updated stuff, but that first like kind of prototype. And so yeah, I mean, man, what would you pay to get the Charles Oakley practice footage? Because I would pay a lot of money.
Exactly.
I mean, I just go straight credit card on that one. Like whatever, I'll pay that off later. Like we got to see all that stuff. So I think it was Chris Childs. I would love to hear Chris Childs stories on that.
No, we're going to get Chris Childs on this pod to try to talk. The guy who two-pieced Kobe Bryant during an NBA game, I think, should have something to say.
Oak used to go to other teams' practices and fight. I don't even know how he got in the building. Like, he would just walk in like, you owe me money. Like, let's go. Like, that's those 90s ones were different.
And Steve Kerr kind of alluded to that. He said, of all the years in the NBA, I've seen 20 plus fights. That's probably a conservative number. And he said the bigger problem right now is who leaked it. And that kind of leads to other organizational issues. And I just want to circle back to a team that's got a lot of organizational issues right now is the Boston Celtics. Once thought to be kind of a front runner to repeat and be the leader in the East. Now you just wonder, where did all these cracks happen? And where was the breakdown in organization? What do you think the Celtics do from here? Does this completely unravel their season? And obviously you mentioned the big injuries too.
Right. I mean, it's tough because now you start wondering, what was the real Celtics team? Was it the first half Celtics team where everyone's like, maybe we should trade Tatum or Brown and maybe this isn't the right mix and everything? Or is it the second half team that dominated the NBA? I mean, absolutely dominated from every measurement you can have out there on the floor. Like they were by far the best team in the second half of last season. And then obviously their playoff run was incredible. And you can say, yeah, there's luck because, Chris Middleton got hurt. Sure, absolutely. That happens in every postseason, though. Like we always see some team that isn't healthy and it hurts them. Celtics stayed healthy enough. They went through their own injuries. Trying to figure out which team that is. They acquire Malcolm Brogdon. I love that move. They didn't give up much for him, but he misses a lot of time. He has plantar fasciitis issues and all kinds of extremity issues. And so is he going to be healthy and available? Robert Williams III already out, months. And after the injuries he's gone through earlier in his career, had the quick turnaround from the meniscus tear, you have to be concerned about his availability, even when he's back to whatever 100% looks like for him. The coaching situation. I mean, until this Ime Udoka stuff broke, I thought Celtics are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. As good as the Bucks are, as good as the Miami or Philly or any of these teams, Brooklyn on paper at least, until they figure out what that's going to be. I thought, no, the Celtics are still the team to beat. Now, I'd probably say Milwaukee has their number. Maybe had their number the whole time, but the Celtics, I mean, that's just what I like to do with the team and trying to figure out if they're legitimate or not, or if they're going to sustain, is it's what I call the what if game. And once we start getting to like 4 or 5 what ifs of like, what if this guy's healthy? What if this coach is really good? And what if this guy can come back? And what if this chemistry? Once we get to like 4 or 5, you're really just grasping at straws there. And it feels like we're headed that way. It can correct. They could be healthy and everything could be fine. But it feels like we're headed to that 4 or 5 what ifs.
Yeah, even you factor in, I thought the Gallinari signing was going to be good, especially coming around playoff time for them. He gets hurt. And then, this is what makes me think we're living in a simulator sometimes, because you have Will Hardy there, who is primed and ready for a head coaching job, and then Danny Ainge plucks him away, and then you lose your head coach. Like, gosh, if Will Hardy could have just, if he was sat there an extra month.
Easy step in. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if we're having these. Well, we're having them, but not maybe as deeply of like how screwed are the Celtics if Will Hardy's there. But look, I still think they have a good roster. I think the East, and this is what I wanted to really dive in with you about, because obviously, too, we know I'm a Knicks fan, and this is a safe chat, right? Permission for me to talk about the Knicks.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
I won't totally submarine the whole conversation, I promise. But the East, for once, as always, it's been the West for years. I think the East, I sat down today and I really tried to figure out, okay, we're going to have 6 playoff teams. Who are they? We might be poised for a play-in that will rival the actual first round of the playoffs. So
absolutely.
I looked at some of the teams. Okay, so we have to pick 6 of these teams. Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, Cavs, Nets, Heat, Raptors, Hawks, Bulls. I'm going to throw in the Knicks because it's our podcast,
yeah.
But I get it. So do you have your 6 yet? There's no way to even possibly hedge? Because I want to know who's in the play-in. I think this play-in, we could see Knicks, Nets, Hawks, Raptors in the play-in. That's insane.
Yeah.
We might need to see like an executive decision by Adam Silver of like, hey, the play-in is just going to be a best of 5 series.
Yes,
right.
That's
like no, like one and done. Like we really should get, not in the West, just in the Eastern Conference. We're going to do this like best of 5. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, just let's be unbiased here. Let's remove the Knicks from the conversation just for now. We'll bring them right back in. Fine. But you named 9 really good teams. Not like, they could, like, these are 9 legitimately good teams. There are only 8 spots. One really good team is going to be left off. Maybe that's Brooklyn because whatever chemistry issues happened this summer when coaching weirdness and everything, like maybe that's them. Maybe it's the Raptors taking a step back. Maybe the Bulls were more fraudulent than we thought. Maybe the Cavs will be injured again and Donovan Mitchell's not going to make the difference. I don't know what that's going to end up being, but I feel confident Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, Miami. Let's lock them into 4 spots. After that, I would guess the Cavs and the Raptors would probably round that out for me of like definites, only because I don't know what Brooklyn's chemistry is going to be. Lonzo Ball's injury is actually very significant for Chicago because he's a big part of what they do on both ends of the floor.
I feel bad for Lonzo.
Atlanta, I know his dad was annoying. Lonzo's a good dude.
He's a good player
kid.
too.
Like
and
he's good. Yeah, he's really good.
He's got some real issues physically. I hate to see that.
Yeah, it's tough. Atlanta, maybe there's some weirdness just in trying to get everyone on the same page. At first, we do see some, not chemistry issues, but just getting that cohesiveness. But even that, they might be really good right out of the gate. I don't know. And so I don't know. I think trying to predict the East of who's just going to be in that top 6 is really difficult. If you end up doing whatever bets you can and you end up nailing that, they should just give you a vault. Like just give you a, like, I don't know. I don't care what the odds are. Yeah, BetMGM should just be like, here's a vault. We filled it up as much as we could. You get it because you guessed that correctly.
You don't think there's any chance, and I think there's a small chance that the Heat maybe are that bubble team that falls a little, only because they're a little bit older of a team.
Yeah.
They're a little top heavy. I don't know. I feel like they could be one injury away from like, okay, we have to scramble to get to that 6 seed. I don't know. That's the team I picked to like, I actually feel more comfortable about the Raptors than the Heat.
Yeah.
The Raptors scare me more than the
team.
Heat.
Yeah, I love this Raptors team. They're just so smart and so versatile. And they can endure pretty much anything. The thing about the Heat though, where I don't think they'll take a step back because it's tough that they lost PJ Tucker and didn't really replace him. They have, still pretty much everyone there, but they had a lot of guys miss time last year. Jimmy Butler missed 20 plus games. Yeah. Bam Adebayo missed 20 plus games. Kyle Lowry missed a bunch of games. Like they had a lot of missed opportunities, but the reason that that team is so good, and you have to mention Heat culture whenever you talk about the Heat. Otherwise, Pat Riley will come and punch you in the face for not saying it. But the Heat culture, it really does breed the next man up mentality. And so they do. Eric Spoelstra just plugs in the next guy, and they're still able to win regular season games. Maybe that doesn't make them a true contender year after year after year in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I do think they're built to endure that, assuming guys don't miss 40 games. They can probably endure 20-something games, but 40 games would start being maybe too much to make up for.
We've kind of been touching on it, but I want to really dig into the Brooklyn situation because it's fascinating. And on paper, they're looking good because we could see, obviously, Kyrie, KD, Ben Simmons. But do they contend this year as you expand on this, or is Steve Nash fired at some point and we see a fire sale at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, everything sounds good right now. They're all saying the right things, but it's easy to say the right things now. What happens if they lose 4 games in a row in November or December or January? This thing isn't going to go away. They could still be really good throughout the regular season. I mean, on paper, you have Kevin Durant, you have Ben Simmons, you have Kyrie Irving, you have Seth Curry, you have Nick Claxton's really good, like as in his role. You have Royce O'Neal, who's a nice pickup when they lose Bruce Brown. You have, I feel like I'm missing
Joe Harris will be back. I think that's
Joe
big
Harris
for them.
will be back, and we know he can shoot the lights out. Like, they have a really good team on paper, but you tried to get the coach and the GM fired. That has to matter. This isn't a video game, like where you just, okay, guys back and now here we go. Kyrie Irving should be on his best behavior because it's a contract year, but it's Kyrie. Like, that's, I mean, I don't know how you feel confident that he's going to be out there for 60. Oh, as someone who needs stuff to talk about every day, I love Kyrie Irving. Like, he is a content machine for us. But, you know, Kevin Durant, as great as he's been since coming back from the injuries, he still misses a bunch of time too. And that's tough to make up for. Ben Simmons is better than everyone's been, you know, kind of hammering him for over the last couple of years. He's still an all-NBA defender. He's still an all-NBA player. He can still get you, you know, 16, 8 and 8 every single night with great defense. But is he someone that's going to be available every game after what we just saw last season? There's just so much on paper that makes sense, and so much in the headlines that makes you just kind of cock your head like a German shepherd wondering if they're getting a treat or something right now. Like, it's just, it's such a weird thing for them. And so I don't know. You could tell me Steve Nash is going to be coach of the year. I'm like, okay, I get it. You could tell me he's going to be fired in December, and I'm like, yeah, for sure. I just don't know how you predict them. If it stays relatively on paper, love their chances, but I don't feel comfortable that that's going to happen.
I love their chances in the regular season. I think the Nets come out super strong. I think they make an early statement. I think they feed on some teams early. The other elephant in the room, there's lots of elephants in Brooklyn, okay? There's the most elephants I think they've ever seen.
It's Barnum
in
and
Brooklyn.
Bailey's circus. Like, there's so many elephants involved.
I'm actually like, I'm foregoing the regular season. I think they're one of those top 6 easily. I really do. My elephant in the room that has been Philly's elephant in the room, that's now the Nets. See, if Ben Simmons is healthy, can you still, and this was always the problem, and it remains the problem until can you play him in the fourth quarter of a playoff series? That's the issue. And if he's your third best player, which he arguably is, and we'll see as long as he's healthy, you still may have to bench your third best player in the fourth quarter of a second round playoff game. I think that's the biggest hurdle that they're going to face, because those questions are all still there since the last time we saw him play basketball was he's passing up a wide open dunk. I hate to keep saying it, but the other thing is, can you hit 60% from the foul line, which he has never proven that he could.
But I don't even think he needs to. He just needs to not be afraid to go to the foul line. Like, obviously, you don't want to miss free throws. You need to make a decent amount of them. But the reason Giannis is so, well, there are a lot of reasons Giannis is so great. But one of the reasons Giannis is so great is he's not a good free throw shooter. But he's not deterred from just being a battering ram and trying to knock down whatever is in front of him, get fouled, go to the free throw line. Ben Simmons isn't quite the physical specimen that Giannis is, but he's 6'10", 240, crazy athletic, very strong when not going against Giannis. Like he's physically capable of doing a lot of that stuff. And yes, he may go 1 of 2 from the free throw line every single time, but the accumulation
that would be a blessing.
But you get the other team in foul trouble, and then Kevin Durant draws a ticky-tack foul. He goes to the free throw line for 2. Kyrie Irving gets a ticky-tack foul. He goes to the free throw line for 2. Like, there is this effect of if Ben Simmons can realize, yes, I may be laughed at the free throw line, but overall, this is going to help us, you can absolutely play him in the fourth quarter. It's when he's afraid of the contact because he doesn't want that spotlight moment of being at the free throw line. That's the trouble. Maybe it gets mitigated by the idea that Kyrie and Kevin Durant can set up the offense at any point. Seth Curry as well, to a certain degree. Like, they didn't really have that in Philly. They needed Ben Simmons to get everybody into their sets, so it was a little more difficult. But yeah, like, just be a battering ram. You can get laughed at. I don't know. But then laugh in the next round of the playoffs at the people who are laughing at you.
The two things I look at are, Giannis 2 years, the year before the championship year, had free throw problems. He corrected those when they won the championship. He was actually great I think in that clinching game, he was like 18 for 19 or something like crazy like that. So I don't know. I just look at it like, when they're playing in the fourth quarter of a playoff game, you're playing a team like Miami or Toronto, and they're literally, you don't have to guard a player on their team. It just makes it a lot easier. I mean, you're right. Durant and Kyrie could mitigate all of that. That's how good they are. But I think it's 4v5 until he's shown he can make 1 out of 2 free throws.
I will say, like, in that game 7, he did shut down Trae Young. Right, like, for a lot, like, Trae Young went like 4 for 18 in that game.
Yes,
and Ben Simmons was guarding him. So defensively, he still is very significant in a very positive way. But when he says, "Yeah, I turned and saw a Hawks jersey, so I decided to pass," it's like, that Hawks jersey is 8 inches shorter than you. What are you talking about? You saw a Hawks jersey. You saw over the Hawks jersey. Like, there's no way. And so like, he will have to prove whatever that mental hurdle is that he can clear it.
Okay, let's go to the West for a little bit. LeBron James going into year 20, and I'm not sure how much this Lakers team really improved. They added Pat Beverly, who I love, but he's had contentious history with Russ, and Anthony Davis has already been out with back spasms. What's the ceiling for this team this year?
I love that we're already getting stories of, like, Russ and Pat are friends now. Like, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I'm buying.
They were at Koi the other night.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're on the beach together, just training. Like, it's great. It's Apollo and Rocky all over again. No, like, I mean, I think it's really good for the Lakers that LeBron is approaching this Kareem record, because you can distract from all the losses with, hey, come check out LeBron James as he marches towards the all-time scoring record. I don't see, unless there's just a crazy rash of injuries throughout, I don't see how they finish in the top 6 at all. Unless they're, very healthy, I don't see how the Lakers are even like the 7 seed in the play-in tournament. Like, I think this team's going to be really bad. Anthony Davis is not someone you can rely on to be healthy on the court. LeBron James has not been healthy and reliable to be on the court consistently since he joined the Lakers, other than the season where they won the title. Pat Beverly helps a lot. They really need a player like him. But Jovan Buha, who covers the Lakers for The Athletic, this was before the Pat Beverly trade, but he was kind of looking at what their closing lineup could be this season. And it was essentially LeBron and AD, Austin Reeves, Juan Toscano Anderson, Troy Brown Jr., of like who he thinks Darvin Ham will trust in clutch moments. I beg any random person on the street to be able to point out Austin Reeves or Troy Brown Jr. or Juan Toscano Anderson to me. Like, there's just like that, like, good for them. They're NBA players. It's not like they're talentless, but those are not guys who should be closing games ever. That's just not, and the Lakers are going to have to put probably 2 of those guys out there now that Pat Beverly is there. I just don't think, I think so much. I mean, we talked about the what if game. We're like 12, 13 deep into the what if game to get the Lakers just to be a team that matters in a really positive way and can be a problem. Like, I think at this point, anyone who's not writing them off is just, that's respect out of LeBron's resume. That is respect out of watching LeBron carry teams. He can still do it offensively. He was a bad defender last year. And maybe there was no incentive to be good defensively because the rest of the team was so bad. But I don't think it's reasonable to ask a guy year 20 to carry a team on both ends of the floor, and they don't really have the personnel to help out with that.
Staying in LA, though, a team, you were talking about the Lakers closing 5. I can't ignore this, and it's so hard because you just never know what the health is going to be. That closing 5 of the Clippers, which could go a few different ways, but if everyone is healthy, if you're looking at Reggie Jackson or John Wall or both, who knows, whoever's playing better, you still have Luke Kennard, you still have Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi, Zubac. They're going to get another center to back up Zubac at some point. is this the year we finally get the Clippers that we've been waiting for? Like, the prince that's going to save us all? Because we've been waiting. We haven't really seen it. We saw it for a flash in the bubble, and it wasn't very good. Is it happening?
Unfortunately, Prince is usually out because of a knee injury, right? The one that's supposed to save us. Like that's the issue. If you tell me, like, even if you tell me, like, hey, those guys are only going to play 60 games this year, but they'll be healthy for the playoffs, I'm in.
Right.
Get them healthy for the playoffs. I'm completely in on this Clippers team. I just don't know how you trust that at this point because of the injury issues. Like that team, the great thing about that Clippers roster is even when they go small, they play big. Like, because everyone's 6'8", everyone's strong. Like you can be so versatile with that group and not really lose a whole lot unless like you're going against a Jokic or an Embiid or one of those monster centers.
Right. There's only
but there
3
aren't
of
that
those
many
guys, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they could go small against even a team like the Timberwolves, and I would feel like they have the physical advantage. Like and they're so well coached. Ty Lue is such a good coach. He's been able to separate himself from, well, he won a title because LeBron was a player. Like, no, that dude's a good coach. You look at what that Clippers team had last year, and they were as competitive as they were with Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard as their 2 most consistent best players. That's great coaching. They were great defensively last year without Kawhi the whole season, without Paul George for a big chunk of it. That team is super deep. They're super talented. They're just super injured all the time. And so if they're healthy, I think they're as good as anybody. I think they're title contenders, and they can beat literally anybody that's thrown at them. I got to see Kawhi out there for the full playoffs.
Yeah, if they're healthy, that closing 5 to me is a problem.
I don't know.
Everyone.
You can't score on it, and you can't stop it. Like, it really is that incredible. You just have to hope that Paul George is not clutch and he ends up with the ball. Like, that's really all you can hope for.
We're going to stay out west for a little bit longer, but we're going to close with the Knicks. I'm just preparing everybody.
Of course.
I teased it early.
Just a couple more minutes, and then like just 2 hours on the Knicks, and then we're good. Yeah.
Right. A few more minutes here, and then probably until Thursday Night Football kicks off, and then we'll talk about.
We got time. Yeah.
Okay. We talked about the East being so deep, especially when you get like 6 through 12 almost. I think the West is not quite as deep, but they're really top heavy. But the teams that I'm looking at, that I have my biggest question marks of, who are you going to be this year? I think the Grizzlies are going to be good. It's the Suns. Like, has your window closed? Can you recover from that awful playoff performance that we saw? And the team I'm most excited about, we mentioned it in the football way, like the Russell Wilson trade. If you're the Pelicans, you traded Anthony Davis away. Yes, the Lakers got a bubble championship, but now you have all these picks on a team that, like you said, might not be there, even close to there in the end. Pelicans and the Suns, okay, where do we stack them up in this top-heavy West?
The Suns are still deep. The Jay Crowder stuff is kind of weird. That just all of a sudden he's gone, right? Like,
he wants a ring.
Camp. Yeah, he wants a ring, but like, you should be able to win a ring in Phoenix. Like, that's a good team, but also, I mean, DeAndre Ayton and Monty Williams didn't talk. Like, it was media day. He's like, I haven't talked to him since Game 7. I haven't talked to Coach since Game 7. That's crazy. You signed a $130 million deal with them. I mean, you were forced into it because of the restricted free agency, but like, you signed a deal and you didn't hear from him, or you didn't like choose to hit him back or something like that. Like, that's crazy. And so there could be some real chemistry problems. Also, we have to be aware that as great as Chris Paul is, the deeper you get into a marriage with him in the NBA, whether it's the Clippers or the Hornets, Pelicans, or whatever, like, as the years go on, he starts grading on his teammates. Like, he just does. And so that's got to be coming at some point, even for a group like that. Phoenix should still be regular season good, playoff good, like that. Maybe, there were reports that they got hit with COVID right before Game 7, and so maybe that really affected it. I don't know what to make out of that collapse, but you lose by 30, 40 points at home for a Game 7. Like, there are some issues there. And so they can get over it, but the Pelicans, this is an important thing to remember about the Pelicans. They got off to an awful start last season because of injuries, because of a lot of stuff. The last 63 games of the year, they were 33-30. Like, they were above 500 team for most of the year, but they had a losing record because the start was so bad. Willie Green can coach. He can flat out coach. There's a lot of talent on that team. They played a lot of rookies last year, a lot of young guys, and they soaked up all that experience. They figured out how to fit their role. And now you bring Zion back. We have to remember, Zion is a monster. His second year in the NBA is something nobody had done. 27 points a game on 60% shooting, Wilt didn't do that. LeBron didn't do that. Shaq didn't do that. Jordan didn't do. No one had done that in their second year except for Zion. Like, he is an absolute scoring machine, and he doesn't really know what he's doing out there. So as he gets more experience with those guys, it's just going to be scary. You have to worry about injuries because CJ McCollum's had injury issues. Ingram's had injury issues. Obviously Zion. But that team is so good. Like, if you told me you're back from the future and you saw and they were the second seed in the West, I'd believe it. Like, they're going to be so good.
Herb Jones alert. We did not mention Herb Jones. We love you, Herb Jones.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want Pelicans Twitter to be even
They would be so mad at you. How do you not mention Herb Jones?
Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy III. Yeah, all those guys. They're all good.
I can't believe we're talking.
Okay, well,
hoops.
obviously, we're a betting show, and Luka
Yes.
Doncic is the MVP favorite at plus 400, followed by Joel at plus 600, then Giannis plus 650. Who is your super early MVP favorite if someone calls back from the future and tells you who won it all?
Isn't it crazy that Jokic isn't up there at all? Like, back-to-back MVPs, they're going to be really good. Like, they're going to probably win 60 games if they can stay healthy. Like,
he would have to average like 35, 15, and 12, and he might. That might win it.
He might.
That might do it.
I think Embiid is an interesting pick there. Can I go off the board like super dark horse?
Off menu. We love off menu.
The media loves him. They're going to have a bounce back year. He puts up great stats. He's almost infallible as a guy in terms of reputation. Damian Lillard could be the MVP. If they finish sixth in the West, which usually you have to be higher than that,
right?
Like, that team had the most loss. So before last season, the record for most 30-point losses in a season was 10 by, I think, like the 91 Nuggets or something like that. They had 15 last year. They shattered the record. Like, they tanked so hard, or sorry, they played young guys, right? You have to be careful about how you word that. They lost so hard the second half of the season and kind of intentionally once they realized like they didn't have it. They traded off guys, Dame sat out, like all that stuff. This team's going to bounce back. They made great offseason moves. If they're like 48-34 and 6th or 5th in the West, like Dame is going to have a monster campaign to have. Like, if I'm going away from the favorites, like Dame would be the guy that I throw out there as my dark horse.
I'm trying to find his odds. I was not prepared.
That's
to
the thing.
go.
They're so down. Like, they're so down the list that
I'm taking it.
I really think he could be a massive pick.
I'm taking it because also too, I even just remember someone was just talking about like the catch and shoot stats from like Simons when playing with Dame and like CJ McCollum. CJ's been great without Dame, but he does make everyone better as well. If we could see a healthy Nurkic, okay, if he could stay
healthy Nurkic, Jeremy Grant's there.
Josh Hart was a great addition.
Josh Hart's a great addition. Nasir Little had a really good year. Like that team's
Gary
going to be
Payton
good. Like,
we got Gary Payton.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
We talk so much about like, oh, what could the Lakers be? What could the Lakers be? I don't think the Lakers are better than Portland. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think this Portland team's going to be good.
Zach, I am all on that bet. I am all.
If they're not, none of this was all shtick. If it's wrong,
I'm all on that bet.
Lillard is 14th best odds in the NBA at plus 5,000.
Woo!
All over it. All right. Okay. Can you guys indulge me now for 5 minutes before we let Zach go? Please.
Go,
5.
you have the floor, Jerry.
No, I
let's do
don't.
it.
Jump in here, Olivia. You should absolutely criticize me right now. But last I spoke to our friend Zach Harper, weren't you hosting for NBA? Was NBA?
I was hosting NBA Radio. Yeah,
NBA Radio,
NBA
right?
Radio. Yeah.
So yes, I was on promoting this very podcast, and I think it was Zach who asked me, or someone who, if you had to make your pitch to Donovan Mitchell of like why New York. I went on this rant. It actually was all over Twitter the next day. It was one of my better rants.
It was great.
Someone's going to bring a title to the Knicks. Why not you?
It was 35
Donovan?
minutes, so we had to blow past all these commercial breaks. It was fantastic. Yeah.
So now, like every Knick fan, it's like the girl who turned me down when I asked her to dance. I'm kind of like, she wasn't really all that anyway. I'm sort of doing that with the Donovan Mitchell trade. Like, I'm glad the Knicks didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell. Look at all the young pieces we got. In hindsight, and it'll play itself out, should the Knicks have thrown the whole farm at Donovan Mitchell? I still say no, but I'm jaded.
Yeah, I mean, for what he ended up going for, I mean, what it was rumored, like when they're saying like it's got to be even a greater draft haul than what they got for Gobert. No, you don't do that for Donovan Mitchell. For what it ended up being, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, 3 picks and a swap. Yeah, I think it's doable. The argument against it is, well, he doesn't really fit with what they have.
Right.
And my view is like, well, create something better than what you have. Like what you have just got you like, yeah, I mean, like everything's going to matter. Like whether they got Donovan Mitchell or not, everything's going to matter on who is Julius Randle this year. That is the key to everything. He sucked last year. He was so bad. Like that's probably the worst we've ever seen him play. He was fighting with fans. Like that was as hopefully as rock bottom as it gets for him, especially on that stage with that media and that scrutiny and everything. If he bounces back, that's going to be a really nice team. I love the Jalen Brunson pickup. Like, if I'm not a big Fournier guy, so that's going to be tough. But I love RJ Barrett. I thought the deal they gave him was really smart, really good, and it's easy for him to justify that. The young guys, the bench has been a strength for them. I think the question I have the most with them is, outside of Julius Randle, is probably like just what's Tom Thibodeau going to do? Is his leash very short with the front office, or is he going to be allowed to coach his way? Is he gonna play the young guys, which historically he does not, or does he recognize like, no, these are the guys that galvanize that second unit, and these are the guys that are going to make a big difference for them? What's Mitchell Robinson going to be defensively? The idea of him is great. The application of him has been a lot of jumping at nothing, and then you got an easy road to the basket. Like I probably would have traded for Donovan Mitchell, because as good as I think Quentin Grimes can be, or any of those young guys, Donovan Mitchell is that. Right? Like it's the whole Family Guy thing of, would you like the boat or the mystery box? It's like the mystery box could be anything. It could be a boat, like, or you could just have the boat, right? Like I would rather the Donovan Mitchell and try to grow and build outside of that. But I understand why they didn't do it. You just have to hope that everything gels together, because that's another team with a lot of what ifs.
So I believe their over-under's 38.5 win total for the Knicks. If I'm off, or if it's changed, that's the last time I remembered looking. So say it is 38.5. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a case before you give your answer, because we're going to let you go with the over. But I think, and again, total homer, I think the Knicks are closer to the 4 seed from 2 years ago than they are whatever they were, the 11 seed this year.
Right.
My reasons being, they legitimately did not have a point guard last year. Derrick Rose missed a ton of time.
Yeah.
Even like the stability of Elfrid Payton to start, but Derrick Rose played a majority of the minutes. Alec Burks was running point guard. I think Alec Burks was the most mistreated player in the NBA. People were criticizing his numbers. He was playing point guard a majority of the time. That's not what he should be doing.
He's not a point
guard.
So
I think having Brunson, having Rose, and that stability of actually having real point guards, if they could stay healthy, I think they make that over easy and really compete for the 6 seed. And I think they're a lock for the play-in. If you had to guess right now, 38.5 over under Knicks total, barring relative health. Yeah. What do you have to say right now?
I would guess I think that's about a 500 team. I mean, this is why the odds makers are so good, right? Because I look at 38.5.
It's a great number. It's a great number.
A real tough number. Like, how do I push on 38.5? Like, can they get a half win? Like, that feels about right to me. I think health, relative health, that should be a 500 team. There's a lot of talent. I don't know how much of that talent fits together. That's the issue, right? I don't know how much of that fits together, but there's a lot of talent on that team. And maybe I'm just I've always been an RJ Barrett guy, so I think that kind of colors me a little bit. I think he's been misused, and I think Tibbs could use him a lot better as an initiator. But that team should be at worst 10th in the East in the play-in tournament, ready to go. They should be better than Washington. They should be better than Charlotte, especially with this LaMelo Ball injury and everything that happened with Miles Bridges. They should be, Detroit with the Bogdanovich pickup, that's an interesting one to me, but that's still a very young team. Young cores don't generally win. Orlando not going to do anything. They should be there for the 10 spot at worst. But again, after what happened last year, there is some, even for a non-Knicks supporter, there's some PTSD of trying to believe in that team. But I have to believe that Tom Thibodeau is going to get them at least back to the defensive part that they should be at. That should be something that's a given for them. And if they're healthy, that shouldn't be an issue. How they score at the end of games, I could see that being an issue, but that should still be a good defensive team.
All right.
Look at Jerry's satisfied little smile.
I am satisfied as I
How
thought about.
often does he just text you Nick's articles of like, maybe we talk about this on the
Hasn't even started yet, Zach. No, this is our first real NBA conversation. We started this podcast like 7 weeks ago. It's been all NFL. That's why when I knew you were coming on, you are one of my favorite people to talk hoops with. We've been talking hoops for years and reading all your stuff at the Athletic. But okay, last thing. It starts for you Tuesday. You're entering your busy season. Not that you weren't busy coming up, but we're in season. What game are you more excited for Tuesday, October 18th? Sixers, Celtics, which is a great one. Lakers, Warriors. Good, just from like a storyline where it's, we're starting the holiday season almost.
Yeah.
What are you more excited to watch on that opening Tuesday night?
I want to see
games.
Lakers, Warriors. That's what I want to see. I mean, the Draymond stuff alone. Is he going to be allowed to be a ring night? Or is he going to be suspended? Like, he's like, I'm going to take some time away from the team. Like, take some time away. Buddy, the season's starting. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means he's suspended yet, or they're going to like still try to figure out where the suspension should be. If they're dangling this, like, who leaked the video thing as a distraction. Like, I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if they let him come for ring night and they just wheel him out there like Hannibal Lecter and then wheel him back into the tunnel. Like, I don't know how you handle that. I could see, do you remember when we had like the gun story with the Wizards locker room in Gilbert Arenas? And then when he finally got back out on the court, they like do the pregame huddle and everything. And he like does finger guns. Like, if Draymond gets his ring on the 18th, does he go out there and like fake square up with Joe Lacob and like do like a fun little thing? Like, it's Draymond. Anything could happen. And then you get to the game itself. It's LeBron and AD. It's Pat Beverly trying to annoy Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's back to full health. Like the young guys with like Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman.
That's a great one.
Wiggins is a K-pop star now. Like, there's just so many storylines for that game, and so like that's the one. And also like selfishly, I'm a West Coast guy. I love watching East Coasters complain about the times of everything with the ring ceremony and everything. The ring ceremony is going to push that game way back. You're going to be asleep by halfway through the second quarter, and I'm just going to be eating popcorn and loving the game. So yeah, I'm excited about that Lakers Warriors.
Yeah,
matchup.
Patrick Beverly is definitely going to go up to Jordan Poole and be like, "You got knocked the fuck out." He's going to say,
"Yeah, that's the thing." He is going to try to legitimately bully Jordan Poole that night. Like there's going to be a whole thing there.
Oh, I cannot wait.
God.
It's coming soon. Zach, thank you so much. I am so happy we had a basketball conversation. Please come back on as we actually have some real data to discuss and real wins and losses. And get ready. Your busy season is upon you.
Yeah, no one's going to pay attention until after football's done, but the NBA, it's fantastic.
That's not true.
I will, Zach. I will.
True.
Go Knicks.
All right, you can follow him on Twitter at Talk Hoops and read his NBA insight on The Athletic all season. Zach, thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jerry, since we are kind of knee-deep now in NBA stuff, which is so fun, season's starting soon, I know Mark Cuban has been involved with Entourage. Now, I haven't gotten there yet. Is he a guest on the show, I take it?
Yes, Mark Cuban comes on the show. He plays himself. He plays Mark Cuban. Yes. And he's actually even said over the years, I think that's helped, what's helped lead him to Shark Tank and kind of being in. Yeah, I think he's said that. I hope I'm not misquoting him. But yeah, Mark Cuban has been on a bunch of times. I've acted with Mark Cuban several times.
All on Entourage or elsewhere?
No, all on Entourage. And one thing stands out with him that I always remember was like the coolest thing, and I really wish I could have followed him. So it might have been his first day, maybe second day, and we're doing this scene. I don't want to spoil too much for you. I won't talk really what the scene's about. It's him, me, I think Kevin Dillon might have been in it, and Bob Odenkirk, actually, who plays Saul on Better Call Saul, plays plays Mark Cuban's like financial advisor, right? So the show's gone, and this is 2011, I guess it was. Whenever LeBron signed with the Heat, it was 2011, right? So
that sounds right.
Yeah. So it was before that. It was that day at 9 p.m. Pacific was when free agency officially opened up. That day we were shooting. So I just thought that was really, and obviously LeBron being the greatest prize for any franchise. So we're doing scenes, and in between takes, Cuban's like looking at his phone or whatever. And then he's like, and he's the one who tells me, he's like, guys, just so you know, at 9 o'clock Pacific time, I'm walking out that door because I have phone calls to make. And obviously we were totally cool with that. So
wait, sorry to interrupt. Just because of the trickle effect, like he didn't think he was getting LeBron. He just didn't know how the dominoes were going to fall after.
I think at that point it was like early on, and I think all the rumors were it was obviously the Knicks thought they had a shot. And he's not staying with the Cavs, or maybe the Cavs. The Mavs were certainly in at least the public conversation. Who knows what was the real deal behind the scenes? So we finish our stuff. Now, what you do when you're shooting, right? Obviously it's called sides. Like I'm on one side, Cuban's on the other. So they shoot all of Mark's stuff first on his side. So all his stuff is in the can. We have it. But I still have to get all my stuff. And it's approaching 9 o'clock. So he's done. He's wrapped. I am now going to do my scene with like a green tennis ball on the other side as my eyeline. Yes. But listen, normally that's like an acting no-no. Like you show up for your off-camera work as an actor. You give it up even more on your off-camera because you want to help get the good performance. In this case, because I'm such a basketball head, I didn't get whatever. You could put anything in front of me. I'll get the scene done. So as he's leaving, I say, and he's like getting into his car, and he's like, I'm like, Mark, who's your first call? And he smiles. He's like, maybe LeBron. I don't know. Maybe I'll call LeBron. But I also think Dirk was doing a deal too. So he's like, no, I got to call. I'm calling Dirk first because I think they were finishing up Dirk. And like he's getting in his car on his cell phone. And I just thought to myself, man, that's got to be so cool. Clock strikes 9, midnight East Coast. He's in a car, and he's going to call Dirk. He's going to call LeBron's people. He's just going to roll calls. And I wanted to be in that car as his assistant or something, just watching that all unfold. So one of the few times you're allowed to break that acting rule of not doing your off camera. I've seen other people break it, not for nearly as good of rules as Mark Cuban.
Man, I never knew that was a thing. And I guess naivete, I would think everyone's just standing there. I would think there'd be 2 cameras facing like each other like that, but I just would have thought it was done in one fell swoop. But you really do like one half all the lines, the other half all the lines.
Yeah.
I love behind the scenes stuff like this because in TV, like in sports, like even on sports broadcasts, we have some hidden tricks as well. Right. But you know, this isn't about that. This is about Entourage.
No, listen, I'm going to turn it on you. When we're done with Entourage, then we're going to do our sideline reporting stuff because I have questions. That's something I'm super fascinated by and would love to pick your brain about. And I think the audience would want to know too.
Okay, well, we can do that.
The Lions.
All right, so obviously our go-to BetMGM betting expert, Peter Andrew, we talked last week. He was getting married this past weekend, and you know, we just want to let him live a little. Let's not bother him, so we're giving him the week off. But Jerry, you've got some bets you've put together, and I think even built a little parlay, right?
Yeah, you know, look, I do not claim to be any kind of Peter Andrew. We love him, we miss him, but he's in a better place. He's a married guy now. Who knows where he is? He's in a better place. But I do have some games. I'm not going to bore you with my 3-team 10-point teasers that I've been hitting every single week. I'm 5-0 in 3-team 10-point teasers, but those are risky. Those are very risky and not always the smartest thing. I'm going to stick with Peter's format. And Olivia, please critique or jump in if you have a argument or a better option. Look, I'm sorry to do this to your Packers. I actually like the Packers to win, but I'm putting 3 units on the New York Jets +7. I think that's like a 4-point or less game. I think that's a final possession game. I think the Packers cruise. I think the Jets come back around and make it close. I just don't know if you could blow the Jets out at this point. They're too frisky. So I like 3 units on that. And second bet, here's a team that I've been all on for the first 5 weeks, and they've completely screwed me every single time. So this is a bit reactionary, but also I love what I'm seeing for the Patriots. The Patriots +3 in Cleveland. Now I know that's the home field 3 points that we're talking about there. I really like what I see from the Patriots defense, their run game. I don't think it really matters what quarterback they have. I think this is a Bill Belichick special. I think Bill Belichick likes coaching a Patriots team like this more than 2007 when they were putting up 70 points a game with Tom Brady and Randy Moss. I think he loves this. And also talk about revenge game, which we don't believe in. The Cleveland Browns fired Bill Belichick. We remember this.
Right.
So if anyone has an axe to grind, I think Bill Belichick is going to step on the gas here. And if you could get him +3, what's the worst thing that happens? I think maybe the Browns win by a field goal, which they have not proven they could do. So 3 units on the Patriots. I really, truly do love that. And okay, I do not normally like going with the big Bills-Chiefs matchup. We all know that's going to be a heavyweight showdown, rematch from the AFC Championship game. And what a game it was. Chiefs are +3 at home. Now, if we're taking in the 3 points for the home field, are we saying that the Bills are 6 points better than the Chiefs? I think anytime you can get the Chiefs as an underdog at home, I think they're worth
At
3
home.
units.
Yes.
And again, I think that's a safe number because I do think this could be another field goal game. So I like the Chiefs +3 for my 3 units.
Yes.
So that's 9. And now I don't have the Peter Andrews single game parlay because I don't really, some of the Thursday night lines are just kind of coming to us. Also, good luck figuring out a single game parlay with the Commanders and the Bears.
Ugh.
But I have a parlay for you.
Brutal.
And I don't know how you're going to like it. I like the Commanders +1. I know that's crazy to think. And I also like the over 38, something that I don't think anyone's going to be on. I think for a 1 unit parlay, Commanders +1, over 38 points. I think these teams are going to score some points. I think the Commanders have 14 garbage points in them easily. And I think the Bears figured out some things with you. The Bears were in that game. The Bears, that dude got the ball ripped out of his hand. Well, the Bears were driving downfield to go ahead or tie that game. So I think the Bears figured some stuff out, and I think it's going to be an awful game to watch. I go Commanders +1, over 38.
I think it'll be an awful game. I think you're right. These are 2 of the NFL's lowest scoring teams. I mean, you said it was 38?
Over on
That's
the
a
right
low
now is
number.
38. I know. Yeah, I'm on the over.
No, I feel like this will be like a 13-7 game.
You don't think Ron
This
Rivera
is-
calling out Carson Wentz saying, "What's the problem with your
How about
team?
that?
Why aren't you guys winning?"
Quarterback.
I do love one thing the NFL has been awesome about this year. The quarterback play, with the exception of 7 guys, has been pretty atrocious. You got Brady calling out the bad football. Ron Rivera's guys getting called out all over the place. I love it. Love it.
How about year of the backup, too? Like we talked about Geno earlier. I mean, he wasn't the backup, but we talked about guys who we didn't think we'd be talking about in October. Cooper Rush and Kenny Pickett, we didn't think would be starting.
Yeah.
Who else am I missing?
Olivia, I have a hard time naming the best 15 quarterbacks.
Oh, Bailey Zappi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best 15 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think you run out of gas at like 8. Right when you get to the 8th quarterback, which is probably maybe Burrow,
You
or
start just pulling names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you start going like, I guess is it Matt Ryan? No, it's not. It's not Matt Ryan.
Slow down. Yeah.
It's not Matt Ryan.
Okay. I'm with you on all of them, except, and this is going to sound Homer, and there's no cheese on the head involved here, but Jets. I think this could be a bigger game. I think the reason I say that is I feel like Aaron's really good following a loss and coming back home. I feel like they're going to really stick it to him. And what he says, 7 points.
Yeah.
So I know.
Do you want to go
excited
extra
about
cheese on the bet? You want to go extra cheese?
Do I dare?
Against another New York team?
I have a death wish.
No, don't let me reverse jinx
I don't
you
wanna
again.
do that. Oh, all right. Hey, Peter better be careful. You did a pretty good job filling in his slot.
Yeah, if I run the table right here, Peter Andrew, you might be out of a podcast job.
And best wishes, Pete. All the best to you guys. Okay, as I run to the shower to wash the smell of cheese out of my hair, Jerry, congratulations. This was basically your best show yet with all the Knicks talk and winning the bet. I bet you're feeling on top of the world.
I feel on top of the world because we just talked some hoops. We got football coming up this weekend, and we get to talk to Kevin Garnett next week. Kevin Garnett, KG, the big ticket.
The big ticket. You know who gave him that nickname?
Who?
My dad. We'll get to that next week. Yeah.
Oh, more on that next week for sure.
See y'all then.